Yo, how about that game and an incredible comeback performance from the Bulls over the Milwaukee Bucks? I'm recording this late at night in Hawaii, but won't be uploading it until the morning. Otherwise, I would be uploading this thing at like 3 a.m. Central Time. But what a way to cap off the end of this trip with the Bulls taking out a division foe in the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll admit, didn't watch every possession of this game. As I mentioned before, going on this vacation, I really wanted to disconnect from everything, even Bulls related, and spend some quality time with my family. But it's the Bulls versus the Bucks, and after I saw that bitch ass move by Grayson Allen in which he tried to act all innocent, like he just fell into DeMar DeRozan, suddenly I became super invested into the game. And it's funny because when the Bulls were down 103-94 with about 2 minutes left to go, I knew this game was likely over. The Bulls didn't look engaged, they looked a little dejected based on how they came out to start the fourth quarter, giving the Bucks that early lead in the fourth, and I was this close to just turning the game off, saying, you know what, the Bulls aren't going to win this one. I'm going to sit back, relax, and enjoy my last day in Hawaii, and then I can go on a rant when I get back home. But just as I was about to do that, you had Zach Lavine hit that three that brought them to within 6, and I said, okay, let's see what they can do. Let's see if they can do something here. And I think it was Giannis who scored on the ensuing possession. I mean, the guy had 45 points. Most likely it was him. I just can't remember off the top of my head if it was for sure him. Then I almost turned it off again, but then slowly but surely the Bulls started putting together some stops, scoring on each possession. They found their way back to within a single possession. And even though there were only 11 seconds left, and it was going to be a tall order for them to actually pull out a win with the Bucks having the possession at midcourt, you had DeMar come up with an incredible steal and an outlet pass to Ayo, who never looked back despite Giannis barreling his way towards him, throwing down that dunk to tie it, and the Bulls took care of business in overtime to get the win. And guess what? Yet another win for the Bulls in clutch time. The law of averages are finally starting to balance out when they were one of the worst teams in the clutch to start the season so far this year. Now, some things to put into perspective in this one. And I know this is going to sound negative, but I promise I'm going to turn it around on a positive note. The Bucks, again, are without two of their top 3 players in Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton. Holiday, who has always been a tough assignment for the Bulls. The other piece is the Bucks have also been struggling recently. Their 4th straight loss, 4-6 in their last 10. And then, of course, as great as a win as this was, the Bulls are still sitting 4 games below 500 and currently tied for 10th in the East. And of course, it's also still just really hard to figure out this Jekyll and Hyde team that beats the Bucks, Celtics, Knicks, but then loses to teams like the Rockets, Magic, and Spurs. Also, the complete opposite of last season. But what I'll say about this win that I think was incredibly positive despite all the other circumstances is how the Bulls responded after a horrible loss to the worst team in the Western Conference at home the other night. And not only that, but responding in-game when they looked all but down and out with less than 2 minutes to go to not give up, not complain, not try and play hero ball, not make careless mistakes to try and get back into it. No, they actually played well together as a team in those final minutes, made smart plays, played incredible defense, were very selective and calculated with their shots, and maintained their composure throughout. That even includes overtime, because we've seen when the Bulls have actually been able to get to overtime and then fall apart shortly thereafter. And the Bucks took an early lead in OT where you thought you might see a repeat of that, but no, again, maintained their composure, played smart basketball, and found a way to win this game. And the reason I say this one was different, in the way that it felt with how these guys played together, their body language on the court, was that these guys finally realized if they can band together, play as a team, play for each other, they can get back to being one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. It's games like this that are just the right catalyst to turn your season around. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm probably riding the vacation high right now, and also it's not like the Bulls still don't have a ton of problems that they need to deal with. They most certainly do, and they have a ton of areas and holes within their roster that need to be addressed, which you would hope some of it will by the trade deadline. But after winning 3 straight, you lose to the Rockets, who you don't take seriously, thinking it was going to be an easy win. You come back and beat a Bucks team that was shorthanded, and you took advantage of their slump. Knowing you're about to turn into the new year, you're going to have some tough games ahead going against the Cavs, Nets, Sixers, and Boston. And seeing that you can beat these high-quality teams and hopefully, I know it's a stretch, but hopefully getting your starting point guard back maybe sometime around the All-Star break. Not saying the Bulls are going to find themselves at the top of the Eastern Conference, but good enough to get back to, say, the 6th seed, which is not that far out of reach, by the way. They're only 2.5 games behind the 6th spot currently. You ride the momentum of this win. You ride the momentum of winning 4 of your last 5 and understanding that, hey, you just screwed up the only game that you lost, meaning to the Rockets. It just feels like this could be a moment later on down the line where we look back at this game against the Bucks and say it was a turning point of their season. Of course, the Bulls could very well go on a losing streak and all this is for nothing, but let's hope that that's not the case. As for some of the callouts from this game, I mean, DeMar DeRozan was incredible. Like, as insane of a stat line as Giannis had, in which he put up 45, 22 rebounds and 7 assists, he was nowhere near as efficient as DeMar was, in which he put up 42 points on 15 for 25 shooting, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. DeMar also only had 1 turnover in 44 minutes of play. That is an insanely efficient game, probably one of his best so far this season. And of course, the clutch factor was in tonight for DeMar, getting that huge steal in regulation, hitting big bucket after big bucket in both overtime and the fourth quarter. Just a spectacular performance from DeMar. Now, I have seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about how is Zach feeling about all this, and that he essentially wasn't even given the ball in the biggest moments of this game, and DeMar basically was the go-to guy to get a bucket. I mean, well, yes, he's probably not that happy about it, but this also isn't really anything new. This was the case last season with DeMar being deferred to mostly in the clutch over Zach Lavine. And Zach also had that big 3 with less than 2 minutes to play that made me not turn off the game. So it's not like he was a complete non-factor in the clutch. This, of course, wasn't the best game for Zach overall. His shot struggled a bit, but he has been shooting it better from deep recently, which has been good to see. Zach finished the game with 24 points, and then Vucevic was kind of quiet throughout this one until he hit that huge 3 in overtime that put the Bulls up, and they never fell behind after it. Vooch has struggled a bit against Brook Lopez in the past, but he managed to play him pretty well tonight, outworking him on the boards. Vucevic finished the game with 15 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists, along with 3 blocks. Patrick Williams played most of this one. Wasn't that efficient or impactful on offense, but he was actually staying with and bodying Giannis, which you don't see often from a lot of players. I know it doesn't seem like it because Giannis went off and had a great game, but it was the little things Pat was doing in deterring his shot at the rim that made Giannis miss a lot of his shots tonight, and also getting him to the line rather than letting him score easy buckets, which Giannis struggled shooting from the line in this one. And then, you know what was also great about this game? Seeing Grayson Allen put up brick after brick from 3, finishing the game shooting 3 for 14. What I loved seeing in this one, because the Bulls have really struggled so much with it recently, is how well they defended the perimeter. Some of the shots the Bucks were just point blank missing, but to have the Bucks go 9 for 44 from 3 tonight, 20%, was not something we have seen a Bulls opponent do. Most teams are lighting the Bulls up from behind the arc. Also, it's crazy to me that the Bucks took double the amount of threes the Bulls did, and yet both teams had the same amount of threes actually made. The Bulls going 9 for 22, the Bucks 9 for 44. Bulls have got to take more threes, man. I'm not a big fan of just chucking up a bunch of threes in today's NBA, but the Bulls got to get more three-point shooters on this roster if they want to at all remain competitive in today's NBA. Didn't help, by the way, that the Bulls lost Coby White early in this one and he didn't return, but it looks like it won't be anything serious according to Casey Johnson. Also, the Bulls just gotta stop allowing their opponent to get so many offensive boards. That almost killed the Bulls tonight from getting this win by letting the Bucks out-rebounding them 22-8 on the offensive glass. Need more Drummond minutes, 16 minutes, 7 points, 13 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds. He also had 2 blocks and 2 steals. But anyway, I know this was kind of a rambling recap of the game. I was just really hyped to see the Bulls find a way to win this game, even when it looked all but over. I'm flying back home tomorrow, so we'll start getting the content back up on a more regular basis. Hope you all enjoyed the holidays, and as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.